Well, this morning, what I'm going to talk about, I've had to live. Have you ever had to do that? That's good, right? I learned a long time ago to not talk about stuff you're not living. Because if you do, tomorrow and all the days ahead, you will live it. And it'll be like a crash, fast, accelerated course. So I want to talk this morning as long as we can and however long we get about where is Jesus leading your life. And there's a lot of areas. There's a lot of areas in our life. We have location, we've got jobs, friends, family, and just adventures with Him. So there's all these areas that kind of change, and we love change. Humans love change. You know, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were complaining about something that we complain about all the time, and it's so normal. And it was a coworker, and she was saying, you know what? If things were like this, it wouldn't be so bad. And I said, yeah, that makes sense. You know, that's a good observation. And I said, but here's the thing. We work for a job where everything changes every 10 to 30 minutes. All day long, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's all it is. We signed up for complete change hundreds of times a day. So I said, you have to change every 15 to 30 minutes, or maybe an hour. So really there can't be an expectation, because the expectation is everything's going to change all day long. And you have to change with it. You have to adapt it all day long. And it's kind of cool. Wow. All right then. Good. I like it. Yeah. Right. So maybe the lesson that I am learning is to adapt quickly and to be quiet while I adapt. And smile and be happy about it. You know, that's what I was thinking whenever I was writing this. Where is Jesus leading my life, and am I happy about it? Whether I like it or not, am I happy about it? Well, I have to be happy about it. I don't really get a choice. I mean, I can be mad about it, but Christine's going to be mad about it. Deacon's going to be mad about it. Our neighbors, you know, I mean, like how it just infects everybody, you know. But that's kind of part of it. However we respond is how other people are going to respond to what's going on in our life. All right, so has He been leading you somewhere? If Wesley was here, he would raise his hand. But is He leading you to a new state? This was very scary for me to hear this in church. You know, for a lot of years, I would be nervous about hearing that because we were always moving around. I felt like we were running from the police. Somebody asked me, man, are you running from the FBI or something? I said, I don't know. I have no idea. Are you being led to a new job? That is different. I talked to a guy yesterday, and what's funny is a lot of people are in transition right now. Like, I don't know what it is about October. I mean, I probably have an idea, but I don't really know what it is. But transition is taking place, right? The weather's cooling off. All the leaves are changing. Have you ever noticed when the seasons change, you kind of go through a transition? Like all the seasons change. Isn't that weird? It's like universal. So a friend of mine, we were talking, he cuts hair. He's got cancer. And, he doesn't have cancer currently. He just went through all the surgeries. They're doing a little bit of radiation. He's been with this one job 26 years. Is that a long time? That's a long time. And he was like, yeah, I feel like I'm supposed to go another direction. And I'm like, man, you got 4 years left. Hopefully it's a long transition. And you can like retire from that place. Wouldn't that be great? So that would be our choice. And I said, man, I'm sorry, but I mean, it's going to be good. You just got to know it's going to be good. No matter what it is, But I said, the nice thing about the Lord is He'll let you sit there until you're ready to go. And I said, it could be He's preparing you. Maybe it's 5 years down the road. It's probably 6 months. But it's, ideally you would want it to be at your 30-year mark so you can retire, right? And you can have your picture on the wall, 30 years of hairdressing. So he's a good hair. He cuts hair. This guy was in the military. He actually had to go to Leavenworth because he was such a bad boy. And Leavenworth is horrible. That's military jail. So he wrote a book called Dishonor. He was a soldier, and he got in trouble. But he's an awesome guy. I met him a long time ago. And he was talking about that transition. And I was like, man, good grief, that's a long time. I remember working on cars for a long time and having to transition out of that. That was really hard. It's like taking a part of me away. Something that I was so comfortable with, so ingrained in my body and my mind, and I was going to have to step into something that I did not know at all. And I was nervous, scared. I was nervous, and I was like, surely this ain't the Lord, because I shouldn't be feeling like this, right? My feelings shouldn't be like this. But they are, because the Lord's shaking them things loose. Hey, man, get out of here. I didn't like that. Maybe it's a new adventure. I don't know. So anyways, questions that I ask myself, this is just what I ask myself. Like if I hear Him saying, go a new direction, is He headed there? Has He been there for a while? Is He waiting on me? I ask myself all these questions. Have I waited too long to go where He is? Am I waiting, I'm waiting on the Lord. Sometimes I'll say that because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like that, hey, He's getting everything ready, and whenever He gets it ready, He'll come get me. And that may be true sometimes, but maybe I haven't responded to the last thing He said. So these are just things I ask myself. That way, somebody doesn't have to come up to me and go, hey, man, the Lord's been trying to speak to you. You're not listening, Mickey. And say, hey, you need to get going, right? Or Scott, right? Giddy up, whatever. So I would rather ask myself these questions so somebody doesn't have to come up to me, which is great. I'm okay with them coming up to me, but I should be able to know, hey, I need to get on with the show here. He's asking me to do something. Like Stephan was talking about, let's get going. Is the Lord's voice who I'm listening to, or am I following another voice? That is a super scary, humbling question. Because all of us probably, and I know me, I would like to think, man, I am following the Holy Spirit. I am following Jesus. But sometimes I'm following John. Or sometimes I'm following fear. Or and you really don't know that until the Lord speaks to that voice that you're listening to. And you're like, what? I thought that was you. Why are you speaking to that voice? Well, because it's not Him. So that is scary. But I try to ask myself these questions because they're hard, and it's good to do it. It is humbling, and I don't like it. But He prepares a place for us when it's ready. He will come and get us. So I experienced this with my child, my 7-year-old. I felt like that we both felt like He was preparing us to go somewhere that was not as cold as Minnesota, and it was closer to home, and it was going to get us ready to come home. We didn't know that, but so I was just, okay, going to work, doing my thing. Lord, whenever You want us to transition out of here, whatever, I'm fine. I like being here, whatever You want to do. So, I'm just going about my day. We had just had a new baby. So Paisley was probably a year or two. Well, maybe she was a year. 10 months. Okay, so she wasn't even a year. See how good I am with time? So she was like 10 months. And so Deacon comes up to me. He doesn't know anything. He's so innocent. He doesn't even know what's going on. And he was like, hey, Dad, I had this dream. But prior to him saying this, he was having these really bad dreams. He was having really scary dreams. And I was like, wow, I wonder if the Lord's trying to speak to him and the enemy is going after his dreams. So that's just what I was thinking. But I was like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know what it is. I don't really know. Sometimes I don't know. Some of us just don't know. That's okay too, right? That's a hard place to be, right? I really don't know, right? Because we live in a world that knows we can find it out, Google or whatever, or we can call somebody. But I didn't know. And so he walks up to me. He's like, hey, Dad, I had this dream. And Jesus walks into my bedroom, and he's got gold in his hands. Like, it's just glowing. His hands are glowing. And he's got this white robe on. And he put his blue jeans on, and he told me to come on, let's go. And he loaded our whole family in the car, and we drove to Kansas City. And I was like, wow. I mean, that's shocking. And he was like, all right, I'm going to go play. And I was just like, I was blasted. From my kid, he doesn't even read the Bible. Like, man, I want to dream like that. That's cool, And I was like, wow, it's time, It's time to go. And I did not want to go because I did like Minnesota. When you have to go, you don't want to go then, right? But when you don't have to go, you want to go. Isn't that wild? Aren't our feelings so weird? So it was time to go. But the Lord changed this one for us. He did not let me have a place completely until I moved. And that was really hard for me. That was really hard for us. So I literally went there and stayed at the Hilton. And I had a job. Job was great. But when we got there fully, man, it was not enjoyable. We had to live in a Hilton hotel for 2 weeks. We could not find, a house fell through. The lady actually gave the house to somebody else when we got there. We gave her a deposit. She gave it to somebody else. So all of our stuff was stuck in a Penske truck by the Hilton. The Penske people were calling, and we're like, man, we are in trouble. And the Lord, it was miraculous. It was absolutely probably the longest 2 weeks of our life. And but the Lord came through. This lady calls us. I think I had filled out 40 applications in a day to go into like a condo or a townhouse or something. And this lady calls us out of the blue and says, hey, I picked your application in the middle of the stack that I have. I just pulled it out and I called you. Can you come today? I'm like, yes, we can come today. So she said, I need cash money. So I brought her cash money, $1,000. First, I brought it to the bank, and I put it in the bank so I could give her, what was it, like a money order or something, or a check, so we could write her a check. Yeah. So I had to put it in the bank. As soon as I put the money in the ATM, the sign comes up and says, this ATM is closed and broken. It took my $1,000. And it said you had to call somebody Monday through Friday. I'm like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. I didn't even get a receipt. So I took a screenshot of the ATM. And I'm like, this is crazy. This is unbelievable. I've never seen something like this. Like, Lord, we're just trying to stay somewhere. It was madness. But that lady honored the screenshot of that ATM. And she just hooked us up. She hooked us up. And we had a great time in that neighborhood. Unbelievable. So, anyways. So that was a little, we really had to lean into the voice of the Lord because, we're trying to live indoors. We don't want to live outdoors. We had to get this Penske truck back because it was super expensive. And the Lord worked some major favor there, like major. I called to finish paying and somebody had already paid the whole balance. Yeah, it was pretty shocking. So there was probably a lot of lessons that I did not realize there, but there were a lot more that were happening. So during a transition, we often lose focus, we get restless, we become stressed because things aren't happening on our timeline. Transitions should compel us to Jesus. When I am with Him in my car at church or at Walmart, it keeps me very content. It makes it to where I don't have to call the shots. Or, hey, I got to call this person to make sure they remember to do this. Or, hey, I got to go out here and check on this builder just to make sure that he knows what he's doing, even though he's been doing it 30 years. You know, and see how, you know, you got to kind of keep everybody, that control. That's not control. That's just, yeah, right? Yep, yep. And the Lord's like, hey, I got it. I got it. Oh, okay. But when I filled them 40 out, do you remember that? He said, stop doing anything. And 2.5 hours later, we got a call back. So we just stopped. And when we rested, things moved forward. But our pushing and calling and, you know, right? I got to be the first on the list, right? That just wasn't working, because that wasn't the Lord, that was us, you know, calling, doing our thing, right? All right. So Deacon and I were looking for bows all over the city, okay? So if you have a child and you try to get a bow for them, you've been through this. I think I was texting Jordan about this. We went and bought a bow at Academy, and it was like $30. And I was like, oh, this would be cool. When he shot it, it barely even came out of the bow. I mean, he could run and stab it faster than that. I mean, it was terrible. So we were like, all right, we're going to go back. All right, we're going to go back. Because he worked and he bought this bow with his money. I made him help me with Wesley's truck. I said, you want some money? You got to work. That's just how we're going to do it. And he worked hard, and he did good. So I was like, you don't want a bow like that. You don't want to have that for a couple of years. So we went back, got another bow, and we tried this one out. Okay, it shot a little bit, and it went from about me to Gary, and that was about it. And I was like, nah, you ain't going to be able to kill a mosquito with that. We're going to have to find another one. So we went back up there and got another one at Walmart this time. We went to Walmart. And this bow, it looks like it's going to be awesome. And it is. It is awesome. We have it now, and it's good. But a guy was standing there. And we had just been going all over the city. You know, Christine loves it when we do this. All over the place. She's like, I want to go crawl in like a tent in the middle of the woods with nobody around, you know. But we are all over the place, me and Deacon. And this guy is standing right behind me. And Deacon grabs this bow. He's so excited. And the guy turns around and says, hey, you getting him into bows? And I was like, yeah, this is actually our third one. So we're doing pretty good, huh? You know? And he was like, oh, that's awesome, man. And he's just talking to me like he's known me my entire life. And he's like, yeah. I'm trying to remember the phrase that he said that really got my attention. Oh, yeah. He was talking about the size of the wheel on the bow. And that makes it go faster, you know, or more powerful. And that's what we had been. He had no clue this was our third bow. I don't know this guy. And he was like, yeah, that bigger one right there is going to make it go fast. You know, the smaller ones, you know, it didn't work. And I'm like, how did you know that? I don't know you. And he was so kind and so nice. And he was like, all right, man, y'all have a good day now. All right. And he doesn't even work for Walmart. Because I'm looking at his shirt like, who is this guy? And I walked off, and I told Deacon, I was like, that was Jesus. Jesus, he followed us in here. I could see when somebody gets close to me, I watch them because I don't know. I don't know. I probably learned it somewhere else. But I just watch him. And he followed me all the way in Walmart, all the way to the bow section. And he wasn't even looking at a bow. And I told Deacon, I was like, that was Jesus. He was like, yeah, he just was talking to us. And I was like, I don't even know. I don't even know who he was. But it was Jesus. I said, he just wanted to talk to us. And he's going to have fun with us when we go out there and shoot that bow. You paid for it with your money. You're excited, huh? So it was cool that he does that to us. But if I wouldn't have been listening to what his words were saying, I would have missed it. And I've missed that 100 times. Like a lot of times. And I always feel bad when I do it. So, anyways. So here's something that today, I don't know, it must be because it's hunting season, I don't know. And listen, I've never killed a deer in my life, but I'd like to. So here's that one ain't gonna work. Let's try this. I've seen a lot of deer though. I actually seen an 8-point driving an ambulance the other day at 2 in the morning. I almost hit it. And they told me not to hit deer. So, all right. So, I got blasted this morning, and it was over this. All right, so the target is what the Lord's telling us to do, right? The bullseye, right? We're just going to say this is the bullseye, right? All right, so for us to get that arrow to the bullseye, if y'all know anything about bow and arrows, you've got to stand at a certain distance. You know, you kind of got to be, I don't know, in front of it at least. You don't have to be 70 feet or yards, right? Oh, Lord. Yeah, so I shot the bow at 70 feet, and I thought it was 70 yards. And somebody was like, wow, that's like lower than the football field. And I was like, yeah, I hit the bullseye at 70 yards. They're like, wow, that's unbelievable. Like, you should go to, and I was like, why are they so shocked? Like, all I did was walk. And Christine was like, nah, it's 770 feet. And I was like, well, that's still pretty far. So anyways, but it wasn't 70 yards. See how listening is important, right? Because when I said 70 yards, they're like, whoa. Yeah, never killed a deer, right? Shooting them at 70 yards. So there's a lot of things that happen with the bow, right? If you don't know, I'll just tell you. There's a little scope here, you know, and you have like a few dots. So the top dot is like 30 yards or 30 feet. We're just going to go with feet so it's easier. So 30 feet, 40 feet, 50 feet, right? So you're tilting the bow up to get further. So in order for us to put that arrow there, we've got to aim it. We've got to kind of factor in the distance, the speed, the position, the wind direction, and there's going to be distractions. So I had a tree the other day that I had to cut so I could hit that 70-yard target, right? Remember me cutting that tree down? So I had to cut the tree down because it was like in my face. So I had to cut that down and get that out of the way. So I was thinking about this, and the Lord blasted me. He goes, you're just not getting it. The distance is how close you are to me, right? This is how close you are to the Lord. All right? So that way you can hear what he's saying, right? You can hit his target. And immediately I thought about this sermon from years ago where this preacher stood in the back with a bow, and he shot a big old log from the back with people in it. And he hit the bullseye too. But we were scared to death. I mean, because you got a bow and arrow in congregation, that's a little dangerous. So this is how close you are to the Lord. The speed is how slow or fast that you're moving. So if you're slow, that arrow ain't going to hit that bullseye. But really, for us, if we slow down, it's kind of an oxymoron a little bit. It's kind of counteractive. If we slow down, we can hear the Lord move at his pace. But if we're moving too fast, then it's going to mess it up. So if that, like Deacon's bow and arrow, it just, like it went here, you know, boom, it just kind of shot and fell out. So we knew, hey, we got to get really close to hit the bullseye because this bow and arrow it's not equipped. It's not really equipped to hit that target. So the Lord's not going to give you a target that you don't have the equipment for, right? That you're not built for that, right? So the next one is the position. So here's your position, you know, however you're up or down, that's the position in your heart. Okay, the Lord's saying go this way. I don't want to go this way. I would rather not go that way, but that's what he's saying. I always feel like that. He's never given me a target, and I'm like, man, that's where I want to go, Lord. Let's go right now. I'm excited. I've been waiting on this for years. It's always like, man, are you sure? Hold up, I'm going to put a fleece out, and I'm going to put another fleece out. Wait, you know what? If somebody comes up to me, then hey, if this guy, and it's over and over and over again, and then it's like, okay, it's time to do it now, right? So the wind direction, this could go two different ways. Kind of what I was seeing on the wind direction is that's the warfare, pushing against you, trying to get your arrow off target, trying to get you off target, distracting you. Y'all ever been distracted? I get distracted every 35 seconds. It's amazing that I ever hit the bullseye. It's amazing. But you know how I hit the bullseye? My wife, Mickey, Pastor Brad, Jack Ditt, y'all. You see how the Lord helps us get our arrow there. And he's like, hey, make sure you're tilting that arrow back. Make sure that you're pulling it back far enough. Make sure you're watching out for the wind. It's going to blow your arrow out of the way, right? Hey, make sure, right? I remember sitting down with different people. Hey, make sure you're hanging out with your wife and your kid. I mean, they're trying to get your arrow in the bullseye. And it doesn't seem like major, but it is major. Because if you don't hit the bullseye, then, I mean, you just hit something. And that's better than hitting nothing, okay. But it's better to hit the bullseye. That's where you want to be. So, another time that I was thinking I was hitting the bullseye, but I was actually hitting somewhere out here. So, some of y'all know this story, and some of y'all don't. But I'll tell you anyway. So we had our second kid in Minnesota. Had him at the Mayo Clinic, which, I mean, Mayo is, I don't know. It's the best healthcare I've ever seen in my entire life. I've just never seen any better. I didn't even know it was that good. I didn't even know you can have healthcare that good. Just the way they are, how they operate, their protocol. I mean, you know, our first kid was at Baylor, and that was really good. You know, Baylor's great, but Mayo's better. So I was just shocked, you know. And the doctor, after we had the second baby, he was like, I hope that you guys don't, you know, decide to have another one because, you know, your wife definitely, you know, bled a lot. You know, I was just like, wow, that's scary. You know, like these guys, I read a magazine before we had the baby, and they're the best hospital in USA. Like, people come from all kinds of other countries to see these doctors. You know, like princes and all kinds. So I'm like, man, you know, this guy must really know what he's talking about. So I better listen to him. So that was kind of it. We decided, hey, that's it. We ain't have no more kids. That's it. This doctor, he knows what he's talking about, right? Well, he probably did know what he's talking about. But somebody else had another idea. And it wasn't my idea. It wasn't even my target. My target was, that's it, brother. We're done. Done deal. Right? Do y'all know where I'm going with this? Some of y'all kind of have an idea. So this was hard for me because my mind was made up. And I thought hers was too. But it's kind of like that double wide in the house thing. Right? So that voice, that wasn't the wisdom of God talking about that. That was the wisdom of this doctor. That's probably true. What he was saying, it makes sense to him. Unless somebody else that does all that work inside and makes the whole baby, makes all that stuff work, if he says something different, that's it. It doesn't matter what the book says. It doesn't matter what this guy says. And that's probably happened a lot of times is, hey, the book says this about your situation, but here's what the Lord says. And they're always going to contradict. You're going to be torn. So, you know, after about 155 people come up to us and said, hey, you guys you should think about like this, have another child. And we were like, no. And the more people that would come up, I would be like, more no. And which, you know, after a lot, you know, you gotta just, okay, maybe there is something to this. Maybe this has not happened just random. So we said, okay, well, whatever. You know, we would like to be done, but I'll be like 60. You know, I'll be a grandpa. But, you know, we just said, okay. And, I mean, literally, as soon as we said that, it happened. Just like that. So I was hoping we would get a 3-bedroom house. But we got a 4-bedroom house. And I was like, I'm not understanding that. You know, we only need 3 bedrooms. You know, we got 2 kids, me and Christine. We're good. We don't need 4. Well, it's a good thing we did. Because that decision was made a long time ago before we decided that we were going to go for number 3. So that's kind of where we're at now is I mean, he just made that happen. So that was hard for me to swallow what this doctor told me, and just, like all that stuff that goes around it. And then you say, okay, the Lord says this. So even our kids were coming up to us, hey, I had a dream. Both kids came up to us. And I was like, man, this is unbelievable. So I would tell you the other part of it, but I'm afraid that it'll happen. Should I tell them? No, that's good. Thank you. Lord, I listen to her. All right, so 1 John 4:6. Just, since we're talking about listening to the Lord and where He's leading us, I kind of dug in here and I learned some things. I'm excited when I read the Bible and learn something, because usually I just read it and I'm like, oh, that's great, and I just move on. I don't know if y'all probably don't do that. So this is what it says. It says, but we belong to God, and those who know God listen to us. If they don't belong to God, then they don't listen to us. This is how we know if someone has the same spirit of truth or the spirit of deception. So I didn't really know what this meant. I'll be honest with you. I read it, and so the only thing I could think that came to my mind was, when you're talking to somebody and they know the Lord, and you can just tell, like what you're telling them, they're receiving, and you're on the same page. But I would meet other people that were Christians, and I would talk to them, and we never could get on the same page. And it was just like, I don't feel like we're fellowshipping. This is just, it's like you have a different spirit and I have a different spirit. There's like not a connection. Like it's something, it would like irk me, because I'm like, I don't understand, because I hang out with these other people that love Jesus, and these people love Jesus too, and we just have such a great fellowship. But it made me think, like, is this person maybe just claiming, hey, I'm a Christian, but no lifestyle is backing it up. No obedience to the Lord, none of that. So that's the only thing I could think about is, man, I've felt that talking to people, just over the years. So, I don't know. Maybe y'all would know more than me. But, I mean, that's the only thing I could think about is whenever you're talking and it just feels like time standing still. You're just talking about really nothing. But it's like you're being refreshed and, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It just has to be the Lord. So, for me, where is the Lord leading John Mauser? So he is asking me to take care of my family. Me and my wife and my children, at my job, to take care of my job, do my job to the best of my abilities, my responsibilities, mowing the grass, cleaning the cars, fixing the washing machines. Me and my father-in-law, we were washing machine mechanics yesterday, and it was awesome. It really, normally I would be so mad and irritated, but I was chill. I mean, I was just learning. We were just playing, scooping water out. I had a fish, what do they call that? It's a fish siphon. I siphoned about 16 buckets of water out of this washing machine. It was awesome. Yeah. Hot and cold, not just cold. Yeah, but it was good. He's asking me to take care of my community. When I'm at work, take care of my community, and when I'm off work. If I see somebody that needs some help, even though I'm like, I'm busy, I ain't got time to turn around. Yeah, even when the Lord breaks down the side of the road or something. Who did I stop the last person? I don't even, oh my gosh, we were at Chick-fil-A, and we're just trying to hang out, and Christine's like, that little girl's nose bleeding. I was like, oh my gosh. I turn around, and it is super mega bleeding, big time. And I was like, oh no, I know that ain't gonna go away. You got to fix that. You can hold all the napkins you want. It ain't going to stop. So I told the Chick-fil-A, hey, give me ice. I need ice and a paper towel, a lot of it. And so I said, hold your nose, hold it. Put the ice on there. That's the only thing that stops it, because it makes that blood thick, because it gets cold. And it was done. And then she was back playing again, right, jumping around in there, goofing off. Boom, here it comes again. I said, dang, because me and Christine, we were just trying to enjoy our dead flowers right there while the kids are playing. And then we seen Jennifer and them. I was like, hey, what's up? What are you doing? So, but that's part of it. He wants me to do that stuff. And everywhere I go, I see somebody I know. So if I don't want to see somebody I know, I have to go to Benton or way out, Princeton or something. But that's good. The Lord gave me these relationships to know these people, to see them, say hi to them, be kind to them, help them. So He's asking me to be healthy in my exercise and my devotion, my love, my eating, my relationships. So I asked Stephen a question when he was here last time, and it was not a spiritual question at all. It was, hey, I want to be super healthy in my eating. You look like you've been healthy in your eating, I mean, you look pretty ripped. I'm sorry. He was like, oh, I'm glad you asked. Da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. He told me all this stuff. Well, other people asked the same question to me. And I'm like, well, I'm glad I asked him, because here's what I learned. And I got this whole list, And so it was funny that the Lord is speaking the same thing to a lot of people. Is, hey, let's be healthy in this direction. And I did not want to be healthy in my eating, especially this time of year. I'm telling you, like after August, I eat like trash until February, maybe March. Because my birthday's in October, Thanksgiving is in November, and I have like 4 Thanksgivings, right? If I can. And then Christmas, man, it's all out, So, yeah, I'm just going to tell you. But it's not healthy. It's not. And I knew it, but I just was like, yeah, whatever. Ain't no big deal. But when the Lord put His finger and said, hey, I want you to like really, really, really do this. And I was like, really? Can I like do something else? Like, can we go on a fast? Can we go on like a 40-day fast or something? Like, or a 7-day fast and get it, like, let me do something. And he said, no, we're going to start right here. We're going to make it hard on you. And it's been hard. He told me this. It was not a statement I want to hear. He goes, you're going to be hungry after you eat. And I said, who told you that? That is not good. It's not good for us to be hungry because we get hangry. But now I have to just deal with the hanger and live with it and smile about it. It's just not enjoyable. I'm going to tell you. Be quiet. Shh. I'm up here now. Yep. No, it's good. It's helping us all. So He's leading me to be a healthy husband, public servant, and a father to 3 sweet babies. Healthy family, memory life, like, actually doing stuff, making memories together, going to the revel, getting out of the house, going and hanging out at the house with our neighbors, enjoying, having good family times. Because sometimes when I'm off of work, I'm just kind of zoned out. I'm in another world. So, which, not all the time, probably because I'm sleep deprived. But I try to just, hey, let's go do something. Let's go dig a hole at my parents' house. Because digging a hole, the kids are like, hey, I'm not having to watch Dora or whoever or whatever. They're actually digging a hole. They're finding grasshoppers, and they're just out there just doing nothing and having fun. Healthy relationships in my church family, in my friend life, so just being healthy overall. So that's where Jesus is leading me. Now I know the news, I do look at the news. I do watch the news. I don't have my head in the sand. But whenever I look at it for too very long, it leads me other directions. And I'll tell you where it leads me. It leads me to building a bunker, to getting ramen noodles. You know what I mean? So I mean, I just have to make sure that if I'm watching the news, I'm listening to the Lord. And it's really hard because there's such a pull of fear and anxiety. There is a pull. I could tell my dad, he'll be like, man, we've got to, listen, this is what we got to do. I've been watching, I'm like, Dad, hey, I understand. I understand. And I see it, and I understand. But, I mean, all we can do is our part. The best thing we can do is listen to Jesus. That's the best thing. And I do want our communities to be rich and thriving. I do. I believe there's a great plan for Shreveport. I was driving on the interstate a long time ago, maybe a month or two ago, and the Lord said, I am going to restore this place. And I was like, wow. Well, that's great, because we need it. You know, I mean, but his restoration probably doesn't look like what I think. You know, immediately I'm like, oh, all the buildings look like the Wizard of Oz, you know. That's not restoration. But I mean, it may look like it. So, yeah, so I don't have an underground bunker. And I do have ramen noodles, but I can't eat them because that's not in my diet. So I'd just be starving down there, full of anxiety, probably chewing like olive oil, chewing my fingernails. But it did make me go back and read this book that I wrote. It's an unpublished book 4 years ago. And I looked over the notes. The book is called When the Trumpet Sounds. And like I read through it because I had such a, I don't know, I had this thought when I was driving down the interstate in Dallas. What if a trumpet blew? Like, what would happen? What would that look like? Well, how would that unfold? So I wrote for years in this, and this is what it led me to the end of the book. After, because you could go through the Bible and you could look at everything in the news over the past 20 years. And you would go, wow, man, these all events are pushing, they're all pushing us closer, really, to me, together. But you could look and go, man, the Lord's coming back the 29th of this month. And like, then you're all hope deferred, and everybody's like, man, you lost your mind. But really, what I learned at the end of writing that book is you have to be ready every day. The Lord could come back, any second, just for you, not as a whole, but just for you individually. And it really was like a good preparation. It prepared my mind and heart that follow the Lord. Keep my oil full of lamp. Keep my lamp full of oil every day. There's no reason not to. No matter what, no matter if it's 60 years from now, 100 years from now, I have no idea. And so I like what Brad says too, is not even Jesus knows. That's what the Bible says. So like living just every day ready for that event and really just ready to follow Jesus, that is the best preparation. If you're doing what he says, you won't even be worried about it. So, because you're doing his will at the time that he's asking you. So, to me, I would get really distracted. As I was writing that book, I noticed myself getting distracted about all the events and the pressure rather than where I was being led. And that can happen really quickly. Like, all these other plans, if the world falls apart, but what about if you meet the Lord tomorrow? Like, I would rather be prepared for this event, and if this one happens, man, I was just hanging out with the Lord, sorry. Or I was doing what he was telling me to do, even though it's not popular. So intimacy with Jesus is where that voice is. Whatever that looks like to you, I used to think if you're not spending 4 hours with the Lord, you can't hear him. But really, he can speak to you while you're driving down the road in traffic. Y'all ever been in traffic? Especially lately, right? If y'all been on I-20, you're stuck. You can't go backwards. You can't go forwards. You can't go anywhere. You're stuck. So, just sitting there and listening. I used to think if you didn't have worship music on, the Lord couldn't speak to you. So I got delivered from that. That was great. Yeah. So this was my devotion on Friday morning. Yeah. So this is what it says. You ready? It says, lean in and incline your ear to your Father's voice. God fashioned you with the ability to hear him and to know when he speaks. Discover the many different ways he conveys his heart is a process. The longer we walk with the Lord, the more exciting it is to realize how often he is actually speaking. His voice is frequently a quiet, small thought that rises within us that has hope and wisdom attached. Sometimes it's an unsettling feeling warning you not to do something. Many times it comes through the things you've read or watched. It encourages you through words of a worship song, imparts wisdom through a book, is heard through the counsel of a friend or countless other ways. It never contradicts His word, and it always settles well within you, even if it's challenging. Pay attention. God is speaking to you today. And I read that, and I was thinking to myself, I've had all of them. The friend, the Bible, a song, and they're all the Lord. That guy at Walmart, that just riveted me. You know, because if you don't notice I used to be like, if I don't get a word, I don't know the Lord knows where I'm at in the earth. Back, a long time ago. But just seeing little things like that where it's just somebody that doesn't really know you, and he may not have had any idea how encouraging that was. He wasn't saying anything spiritually. He was talking about a bow. But I was like, man, the Lord is with us, Deacon. And he just happened to show up at Walmart, I should have turned around and said, hey, man, can you get this half price for us? But, just to know that He's with you, there's there's just nothing else. Like this morning when we're listening to worship together, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what's going on. You could just sit there for hours and hours because you're consumed. You're just, you're undone. And there's nothing better than that. And it takes a little while to get undone, to calm all the things, Did I pay this bill? Is this automated? I don't know. I got an email. I wonder what it's about. I'm just telling you, my brain has to settle. Them waters are just crazy. And then when the waters settle, it's all right, cool. Yep, it's good. It'll be all right. It's going to be fine. All right, I'll read you a couple of more scriptures. This is something I learned this morning, and I thought it was cool. This is Mark 4:24. And I'm going to bounce all the way to 33, but I'll read 4:24. It says, pay close attention to what you hear. The closer you listen, the more understanding you will be given, and you will receive even more. So right there, a lot of times I'll get a thought, it'll come into my mind, and it's just me. So I'll just delete it. Okay. And then other times I'll get another thought, and then I'll hear it again the next day, maybe a week later, and I'm like, man, I wonder what that's about, And I'll just kind of leave it there. And, I'll hear something else, and that'll just be me or something. So I just kind of write it down because I don't know who it is. It's either me, my flesh, the Lord, or the enemy. Or it just could be Taco Bell. So I just write it down, And what I've come to figure out is sometimes the Lord speaks so normally, like a regular thought. And He doesn't blast it out there. And I'm like, man, He was really talking to me the other day. Somebody else said the same exact thing that I was talking to. And I'm like, I wonder why that happened. So I just try to write it down because I don't want to miss it. When you've missed it before, it reminds me of when my aunt passed away. I didn't get a chance to like talk. I was really close to her, and I had been taking care of her for so many years, and she was tough cookie, and she passed away in the hospital. I didn't get a chance to see her before that happened, and it was real abrupt, and it was just messed me up. But I remembered from that moment to always, always, always. Like, make sure everything is good before I leave somebody or I hang the phone up. People, they often mess with me. Man, every time you hang the phone up, you say, love you, bye. Because that's what I did from that point on, is love you, bye. I'll say it to guys. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. But that's how I feel, because if something happens to them in the world I work in, something happens all the time. So I want to know, man, the last thing I said to them was love you, bye. And I tell my kids that. So I didn't tell her that when I got off the phone. We were fighting on the phone, and it was just messy. And the next day, that happened. And I could not get there, and it just messed me up. So when I hear something, I try and write it down because I don't want to miss it. You know, I mean, I was away from the Lord for so long, and I don't want to miss what He's telling me, and I don't want to drift. You know, so I try to stay. You know, it's hard for me to stay on that path. You know, because I'm like a bird will fly by and I'm watching a bird. You know, I think they call that, was that BAD or ADD? Probably BAD. Yeah, yeah. Squirrel. Yes, that'll get me too. Watch out. All right, the rest of it, it says, all right, it says, you will receive more if you listen to what you're hearing. To those who listen to my teaching, more understanding will be given. For those who are not listening, even what little understanding they have will be taken away from them. And I've lived that part too. I wasn't listening, and I didn't understand anything. I felt like an idiot. And I was acting like an idiot too, you know, for a lot of years. And I think because I wasn't listening to the Lord, that's why. You know, I was deliberately disobeying Him. I wasn't like accidentally. I was purposefully disobeying, like on purpose. So then it jumps down, because I had read that before, and I was like, oh yeah, I know what that means. And then I was like, okay, maybe I don't. And then I went to 33, and it says, Jesus used similar stories and illustrations to teach people as much as they could understand. And I'm like, this guy has a radar on people, and when their understanding maxes out, he just goes on. And I'm like, wow, that is cool. And there's one part in the Bible where it talks about He opened their minds up. And I'm like, because I'll get to a place, if I'm in school, and I'm just like, I can't tell, I am not understanding anything else. You could tell me something, and I will not remember it. Because my brain just can't take no more. It's full, but what is it full of? What is my brain full of now? Right? We live in a world that, I mean, you can get full in like 5 minutes. Wow, I can't take anymore. Whew, my brain is maxed out. Smoke coming out of my ears. And so we were meeting with a guy that I meet with from just my job stress, and he gave me this unbelievable little analogy. He said, John, inside every person there's a trash can, and we put stuff in that trash can. And a lot of times we just kind of start stuffing it. We stuff that trash down. And, you know, events happen, stuff happens. We just keep stuffing it. And then one day, something falls over the edge of that trash can. And it's coming out. And, you know, you're going to be acting like you lost your mind. And, I mean, he's right. But he said the best thing to do is to know when that trash can's full, and go and do some hobby stuff, have some time to yourself where you can shut your brain off and just empty that trash can. And while you're doing that, your mind is going, all right, we don't need this, da-da-da-da-da. And, you know, your mind is like a computer cleaning out all the files and getting all that trash out and just getting you clear. And after we left, because I shared a whole bunch of stuff that had happened at work, just over 1 year. You know, all the events, all the things that I can't stop. I can't control these events from happening, but I have to respond to an abnormal situation. And that affects people. And all events affect people in different ways. And we just stuffed that trash down, you know. And I just felt like I had the emptiest trash can. And I could take the world on. I was not irritable. I was fine. I was peace. And I was like, wow, that's amazing that I'm empty now. Like my brain's empty, I'm ready, you know, and I could just take on some new teaching or whatever. And I think it's really funny that he taught people as much as they could understand. So it made me want to keep some space for him. Because I do want to see how their lives are, see their kids, but I don't want to be so full of information I can't take on anymore. I remember one time I was at a church, I don't remember where it was, and the guy was preaching, and I could just look over the crowd, and I could see they could not handle any more. So what he was preaching, it was coming right back to him, because they didn't have any more space. It was maxed out. And I was like, wow, is that me? I bet I'm full of all kinds. I mean, I'm always reading or researching something. I don't even know for what reason. But so that made me think about that. That was cool. So it's probably the Lord saying, hey, boy, make some room. Right? Okay. Did y'all learn something from me? Oh, good. Do y'all have anything? Once, twice. I'm glad to be here with y'all. I think I'll be for the next 5 Sundays, right? Maybe. I'm off for the next 5. Yeah, that's good. I love it. I love it. Oh, maybe not. So, well, I'll pray for y'all, and then we'll go eat, I'm sure. I guess. Whatever's on the diet plan. Yep. All right, Lord, thank you. Thank you for all these wonderful people that they are salt and light to this community. And they're salt and light to my family and all the families in here. You didn't accidentally put these people here. They didn't just show up. They were led here, and you are leading their life, whether they know it or not. And I thank you for every church in this city, like Mickey was talking about. I just pray that they would be led by you. We need churches led by the Spirit of God, not led by series or agenda. We need led by God. There's no other way. All the hurting people in this city to show up to a church that is not being led by your Spirit. I pray that you would continue to do your wonderful work in our midst, in our nation, with the people that we love and the people that we don't love. Help us to follow your Spirit, whatever that is, and even however challenging it is. Help us. Give us strength when we are weak and scared. Help us to listen to you and to make room for you. And let us be full of you. And Lord, we love you. We thank you that you know best. And I pray for everybody that's not here, that they would be safe if they're traveling or coming home or wherever they're at. And I thank you for all the people online that we may have never met. God, I pray that you would give them a special touch this morning, and you would still their waters in their mind. Just give them rest and peace, something that is priceless. And I thank you for your goodness to us, week after week, hour after hour, no matter what our response is to you. We love you, and we want to be led by you. Amen. Oh, yes, ma'am.